Okay, so there's another thing in the Bible called
Yeah.
a Leviathan.
Correct.
What is that? Is that a dinosaur?
Yeah, it could be. It could very well be a dinosaur.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'll give you my dinosaur thing here in a minute about what I actually believe about dinosaurs.
I mean, we have their bones, so
Right.
they were real.
Right. So, all right. In Job, once again,
Okay.
chapter 41,
Okay.
verse 1,
Okay.
can you pull in Leviathan with a hook or tie his tongue down with a rope? Can you put a cord through his nose or pierce his jaw with a hook? Will he beg you for mercy or speak softly to you? Will he make a covenant with you so that you can take him as a slave forever? Can you play with him like a bird or put him on a leash? This is funny to me. Can you put him on a leash for your girls? Will traders bargain for him or divide him among the merchants? Can you fill his hide with harpoons or his head with fishing spears? Lay a hand on him. You will remember the battle and never repeat it. Any hope of capturing him proves false. Does a person not collapse at the very sight of him? No one is ferocious enough to rouse Leviathan. Who then can stand against me? And so,
Where are we reading this from?
this is Job 41.
Oh, we're in Job again.
Yeah, we're still in Job.
Oh, so this one's not real either.
Okay, well, okay. But this one's got actually more references than just the Job reference.
Oh.
But again, it's still within the poetic world because it's in Psalms. So it's got 3 more references in Psalm. All right.
Okay.
And so once again, it talks about Psalm 74, verse 13. You divided the sea with your strength. You smashed the heads of sea monsters in the water. You crushed the heads of Leviathan. You fed him to the creatures of the desert.
The heads?
The heads.
He's got multiple heads.
You crushed the heads of Leviathan.
Unless unless Leviathan is a plural.
Unless Leviathan is a plural.
And so
Correct.
it's multiple different fishes' heads.
Correct.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so it's, and then let me just read a couple more just real quick, just for the fun of it about Leviathan. Psalm 104, verse 26, same thing. There the ships moved about, and Leviathan, which you formed to play, which you formed to play there. So it's referring to the fact that God had created Leviathan. And then actually in Isaiah as well. So this is the other one that's outside of Job and outside of the poetic, world, but it is still back in the prophetic world of literature.
Okay.
So on that day, the Lord with his relentless, large, strong sword will bring judgment on Leviathan, the fleeing serpent, Leviathan, the twisting serpent. He will slay the monster that is in the sea. And so
This sounds like a eternally living sea snake.
yeah,
That's huge.
yes.
That could still exist.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like it's referring to him as this fleeing serpent, this twisting serpent. And, of course, for Isaiah, he's prophesying about the future, right? On that day, the future day, the day of the Lord.
Right.
So
this thing's still around somewhere.
I mean, it could be, I guess.
And now I'm on a conspiracy theory list.
You you really are. Yeah. And so, this idea of Leviathan is, it is interesting with Leviathan because it's like, all right, well, what kind of being is he? We know he's we know he's a large, being in the sea, right? Like we get that. Okay. And so, but once again, like we don't know anything that's looking like a Leviathan that we have encountered in our day. So again, it could be, like dinosaur pre-flood being.
Or Satan?
Or in Isaiah could be using a Leviathan as a like an analogy almost, or an allegory for Satan. Mm-hmm. That fleeing serpent, the twisting serpent. Yeah.
Okay.
So absolutely, Isaiah could be using it in that sense.
All right.
Yeah. So, but with Job and in the Psalms, again, it's you got Behemoth and you got Leviathan. They're these massively large creatures that we don't seem to have today in today's world. So when were they there and what happened to them? I tend to...
And you're going to tell me.
Well, I tend to think that we do have dinosaurs or what we would call dinosaurs, right?
Okay.
And that they existed, my guess is pre-flood. Okay.
Okay.
And that at some time in the midst of that flood, that there is a a freezing, and therefore we have in the midst of
an ice age.
An ice age, right?
During the flood.
That this flood basically causes an ice age, if you were.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so
like way down below.
Yes.
In the water.
In the water. In the water, yes, in the water, in just an over. Because we have the flood, it's covering the earth, right?
Okay.
And even as the flood is drawing back, is that causing this, this ice age?
So it got real cold.
Got real cold.
And Noah and his family needed
all these beings died.
Blankets and sweaters, and they decided to kill the dinosaurs on the.
I didn't say all that. So
on the boat,
right? But
for blankets and sweaters.
All I'm saying is, I think there's because I do think one of the issues that people have with dinosaurs, especially in the Christian community, is what happens is you're trying to find where the dinosaurs could fit in Scripture, right?
Okay.
And so some people will go, well, maybe it's in there in those days that the Lord is creating the heavens and the earth, right?
Okay.
He creates the beasts of the field, and maybe it's not a literal day, because that becomes an argument for some people, right? That the literal 7 days, or those 7 days that the Lord created on the 6 days and rested on the seventh, that they're not literal 24-hour days. They're longer than that.
So evolution.
Right.
Okay. Some
would say, right? Or you could say that that's just in that period of time, other things were happening. Okay.
Oh.
So it helps. It
like
helps
the Jurassic period.
Right. And so it helps you when you're trying to fit in all that, you mentioned the Jurassic period, or the Bronze Age and the, Ice Age and all that. When did all of this stuff, where did it fit in? How far back are we?
Who cares?
Right.
We have the bones. They existed.
Right. And it gets into the argument of the old Earth, young Earth debates,
right?
All that kind of stuff, right?
I don't want to talk about this right now.
So he won't. All right. But all I'm saying is, so people are trying to find, where do you put, do you put the dinosaurs in that time frame? Do you put the dinosaurs, pre-flood time frame? Where do we put dinosaurs? And so I actually think pre-flood works, to be honest with you.
I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense, right?
Yeah. To me. And then and then part of the skepticism with the whole dinosaurs and bones and everything is that carbon dating has been found to just not be reliable, right?
Right.
Across the scientific community, carbon dating is just not overly reliable. So therefore, are these things really as old, or da-da-da-da? And I think just an easy answer for me, again, is flood. I think we obviously have had some movements on our Earth. I mean, I'm cool with thinking the idea of taking all the continents and throwing them together, making one big, massive continent.
And then the flood happened, and then
spread
everything out.
Yeah, and the flood happens, and all this stuff kind of begins to
and that's why,
move out.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I'm good with that. That doesn't bother me to say that.
Okay.
And so...
so did dinosaurs build the pyramids?
Did dinosaurs build the pyramids?
Yeah.
I don't know if dinosaurs built the pyramids,
okay,
but maybe this next group of creatures that we're going to talk to might have.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you think that dinosaurs were made on day whatever when God made beasts of field stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just existed forever until a flood happened,
Mm-hmm.
whether that was 65 billion years later or a couple years later?
Yeah, right.
How long was creation to flood?
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the part. Even when you're even with evangelical scholars, right, of Old Testament, we really don't know how much time was between garden and Adam and Eve sinning, right? We don't actually know how much time was in all that time frame.
They could have been there for,
and then much less moving it forward. The dating of basically anything pre-flood is just really hard.
Yeah.
And so that's the reason they on most timelines and stuff, like you just have like question marks.
Yeah.
Because we really don't know how much time there was. Now, again, if you're a hardcore like young Earth, that we haven't even hit, 7,000 years yet.
Right.
Then obviously everything's got to be kind of much more pushed
Smushed.
together. Yeah.
Okay. So not a lot of time for dinosaurs to be around.
Right.
But
the flood still happened, right?
Somebody knew there was
even if you believe
some big weird things.
Right. Even if you believe in a literal 7 days and you believe that, we're not even to 7,000 years yet as an Earth, then yeah, there's still room there.
Okay.
Dinosaurs. So I think dinosaurs can be celebrated by everyone.
And if they were in the garden, dinosaurs would have been nice.
100%.
And they talked.
And that's a strong possibility as well.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be kind of crazy. Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. And it's one of those things, who knows? It's just a fun guessing game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they were around then and then died in the flood.
Yes.
So Leviathan was a sea dinosaur.
Creature.
And
Correct.
Behemoth was a land dinosaur.
Correct.
And that's just that.
I'm good with that.
Nobody needs to talk about it ever again.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I just think they're fun stories, and it's pretty cool that those kind of beings may have actually been on the Earth.
This
that's
falls
cool.
into the category of I don't care. This
Right.
doesn't change the fact that I have to go to work tomorrow.
100%.
You know what I mean?
It doesn't change.
It doesn't change how I live my life.
No, it will not. No, it has no bearing on how.
So however you
live
want
your
to,
life.
you can argue about it online
Right.
all you want.
Right.
I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those great spaces for just like the young Earth group and like the old Earth group just to yell and argue with each other about when the dinosaurs actually existed.
Right.
So go right ahead, do that.
And nobody really knows. And we're getting farther and farther away from any actual evidence being able to be found.
Correct.
Due to decomposition and whatever, and just have fun with that, y'all.
Yeah, just go for it. Go for it. 100%.
Cool.
Yeah.
So dinosaurs were real because we found their bones, you idiots. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, Lord.